Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here, the capital city of British Columbia on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody has had a lovely week and is looking forward to an awesome weekend, staying healthy, staying strong. Welcome Shushma, Lynn, Irfan, Jasur. Good to see many students in the class. We had a little bit of a technical issue there at the beginning, so thank you for your patience. I had to do a hard restart on the system. But no worries, here we are and we're ready to learn. We are looking at IELTS Task 2, specifically finishing a high band essay, looking at the body paragraphs and the conclusion. Just to introduce the foundation of our program, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Visit us there for the general IELTS. Check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of those websites, we have loads of information to help improve your grammar, your vocabulary, your communication, and your scores for the IELTS exam. This is our academic IELTS website here. All you do is click that big red button, you join the premium package, and you start learning for some great scores. For the general IELTS, it's the green background. Again, click that big red button there. We are an official IELTS test registration center and certified agents by the British Council, so you're in great hands with us. We can help answer your questions. Should you have them, you can just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. If you want to get our apps, look for Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help in your app stores, everybody. Sarveer is the pronunciation there. Okay. Sarveer. All right. So we've got this Task 2 class today. We've got speaking classes tomorrow. On Sunday, we're premiering Episode 5, Inquiry on Results, for my Band 9 IELTS journey. Let's get into some writing. Hi, Lei Trang. Hi, Maan. SD Sohel. Good to see you on the General English channel. Hi, Eugene. Thank you for the weekend emojis. All right, everyone. So this was the question that we started with yesterday. We're just going to review the question, the introduction, and we'll get right into the body paragraph writing. So the question was, you should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Some people feel that the design of newly constructed buildings in big cities should be controlled by governments. Others believe those who finance the construction of a building should be free to design it as they see fit. Discuss both these views and give your opinion. Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Okay, so both sides have to be included. We paraphrased this question so that we can clearly understand it, gather some vocabulary. This is not your introduction. Certain individuals ascertain that the architecture of newly built structures in metropolitan areas ought to be regulated by authorities. Opponents to this idea feel that the investors should have control over the look of these buildings according to their preferences. Explain both these perspectives and give your own opinion. Include your own experiences. So, as I explained to you, one really good way to think about your answer is to think about the way that this works in real life. And we realized that in real life today, how are building designs regulated in big cities? Well, they're controlled by both the government and the investor. So here, both are correct. Okay, the people giving the money for the building, the skyscraper, and the government. All right, so we wrote the introductory paragraph. The introductory paragraph has a hook. It catches the reader's attention, introduces the topic. It has a background. The background defines the main idea, the topic, and the importance of the question. And the thesis presents the argument to the author, our opinion. Okay? All right? Yogesh, I will go into some examples today. So yes, I will answer your question. Okay? All right, so here is our introductory paragraph. Let me actually move it to the next page here so you can see that really clearly. So here we go. There are thousands of potential designs for new buildings that pop up in cosmopolitan areas worldwide. Architects invest a great amount of effort and time in the functional and aesthetic design of skyscrapers and other structures to suit the needs of the city's citizens. The look of these buildings greatly impacts the reputation and function of these urban areas. In my opinion, both the government and the investor should influence the design of new structures in metropolitan areas, as the former is responsible for safety and cityscape, and the latter is guided by cost, profit, and pride. Okay, so very importantly, this is my thesis statement here at the end of my introductory paragraph. And my thesis statement for the reader has two very clear points. Firstly, that I believe that the look of new buildings in big cities should be controlled by the government, because the government is responsible for safety and cityscape. So this is my point number 1. Okay, so that's going to make up my body paragraph number 1, and I'm going to explain this idea in more detail to my reader. That's what I need to do here. Okay. All right, and then my second point is this one here, that I also believe the investor, so the person giving the money for the building, should influence the look of the building, because they are, at the end of the day, paying the money. They need to make money so we can keep building our cities. And they have pride, okay? So we're proud of what we build. I'm sure you, the same as I, when we build something, we want to be proud of it. We want to show other people and say, hey, look, I made that, and it's beautiful, and I hope you like it too, okay? So that's going to be my body paragraph too. So let me explain each of these body paragraphs in more detail as we write this essay together. Okay, and Lei Trang, yeah, absolutely, we can build a study group together. We already have a study group for people on Discord. We use Discord for our study groups, and I will give more information on that on our YouTube channel and on our website as well. Okay, so check on the YouTube channel on the comments and posts for study groups. Okay, that was a good question there. All right. I don't speak that slowly, Lei Trang. I actually just speak very clearly. I really enunciate my words. All right. So here we go. Body paragraph 1. Now, body paragraphs have several important parts. Firstly, they have a topic sentence. Then they have an explanation. Then they have an example, and then they have a connecting or concluding statement or sentence. Okay. Now, your topic sentence is basically a deeper definition of your first point. So here I'm saying that the governments have a responsibility to design or to influence the design of buildings because of safety and the cityscape. So what do we mean by that? You always have to think like, what does my reader want to know, or how will my reader understand what I'm saying here? Okay, so here you want to give a deeper definition. Okay, give a deeper definition of the government's responsibilities. Okay. So I'm going to do that. I'll write that topic sentence, and that will give you a much clearer idea of what I'm actually talking about here. So what I mean, Jay, good luck on your exam tomorrow. Just stay calm, stay confident, and you'll be fine. Diora, congratulations on your IELTS score, 8.5. That's fantastic. That's an incredibly high score. Diora, send me an email. I would love to get your testimonial and your picture to use on our website so we can encourage other students to learn with us. We have lots of fantastic success stories, and I would love to have you as one of them. Okay, so here I go with my topic sentence. Okay, so this is my deeper definition of safety and cityscape. Remember I said yesterday cityscape when I taught you this word, that cityscape means the look of the city. Think about the word landscape, and then you can think about the word cityscape, right? Landscape is the look of the land. Cityscape is the look of the city, okay? All right. So let's see what some of our students wrote. I know there were some. Okay. Silent Boy, that's just a kind of a repeat of the introduction there. Gurjeet says safety and cityscape are two main reasons the government should be responsible for the construction of new buildings. Gurjeet, that's just a repeat of the thesis. Okay, students, don't repeat your sentences in your essay because your band score will suffer. Okay, so you're not going to do very well if you just repeat. Okay, all right. Okay, so here we go. This is what I wrote. It is the elected government that is entrusted by its citizens to ensure that the buildings and cities guarantee security and safety, as well as maintaining an overall aesthetic appeal and style that represents the population's culture and ideology. So this is my deeper definition of cityscape. If you think about cities, then those cities that we're talking about are containing cultures and ideologies, like, for example, religious beliefs or cultural dance, song, clothing, art styles, different art forms throughout the history, Okay, so that's what is contained in a city. And obviously, if we start building just some really strange buildings all over the place that absolutely don't match with the city, and that happens sometimes, people kind of go like, "Ugh, what is that?" Or what happened there? Okay. All right. So Rashika writes, authorities should be considered in the protection of its inhabitants and continue the look of the city constructing new amenities. Okay, Rashika, I like your definition of safety. So protection of the inhabitants. Yeah, guarantee the security and safety of inhabitants. Yeah, that's really good. Absolutely. Nigame says or writes, let's see. Governments are usually responsible for the well-being of their citizens as well as the standard urban beauty for the greater prosperity. Therefore, it is sensible that the design of new constructions should be controlled by authorities. Nigame, very good. Nigame, I would take out the word usually because governments are responsible for the well-being of their citizens. Not usually, always. It would be, I can't imagine a government that's not responsible for the well-being of its citizens. Then that government is obviously not doing their job. Okay. So watch your information. Okay. Jainil writes, national authorities have a duty to periodically investigate newly erected buildings in downtown areas of cities where checking building safety and security and overall surveillance of the city's skyline. Jainil, I'm not too happy with that one. Few reasons. National authorities, yes, but oftentimes it's more the municipal, the local authorities, like the city hall, that governs the look of the city. I'm not sure how it works in every country and every city, but I know that in Canada, for instance, in Victoria, where I live, it's the Victoria City Hall where builders have to ask for permission. And in Vancouver, it's the Vancouver City Hall. So it's more the local authorities that are familiar with the city. So careful with those information mistakes, okay? All right. Bakrat, simple, okay? The government wins the heart of the people to control the center authority. It's awkward, all right? Okay, so now I want to explain this. Okay, so for the explanation, give descriptive language, logical language with quantification. Okay, meaning numbers, so that we can better understand what you are discussing. I'm going to write my explanation for my topic sentence. So your explanation is always a response to, well, what do you mean by that? Or why is it that way? Or how does it work, right? So here, again, it is the elected government that is entrusted by its citizens to ensure that the buildings and cities guarantee security and safety, as well as maintaining an overall aesthetic appeal and style that represents the population's culture and ideology. Authorities must take into consideration potential threats, such as natural disasters that are frequent in the area, as well as the historical and religious beliefs of its citizens when setting up regulations for the construction of new structures. Okay, so here is my explanation, right? So different cities are built in different environments with different temperatures, with different kinds of natural disasters. So you can't build a building in New York the same way that you would in Dubai. You can't build a building the same way in Dubai as you would in Tokyo, okay? Obviously, the environment is different, and these must be considered when the government says, yeah, you can do that. No, you can't really do that. Okay. All right. Paulo Reese writes, governments are responsible for making sure that cities are safe places, and so they put in place hundreds of regulations to guarantee security. In that context, it makes sense for them to have supervision of projects of new edifications. Aside from that, buildings are an important part of cityscape, and the design must look and meet some criteria defined by the local powers. Very good, Paulo. I made a few real-time corrections there, but that was quite good. Okay. All right. Lei Trang, focus in on this IELTS Task 2 writing. Okay. All right. Rashika writes, they can be imposed rules and regulations which protect the quality of the buildings and landscape to avoid flood and the safety from earthquakes. Yeah, Rashika, that's almost going into a bit too much detail, but that's fine. Yeah, some places are very prone to flooding, for example. Okay, all right. Now, here, I'm satisfied with my explanation. What I feel is missing is a bit of quantification. So authorities must take into consideration potential threats. I might add just a word like dozens of potential threats. Okay. Such as natural disaster that are frequent in the area, as well as the historical and religious beliefs of its citizens when setting up regulation for the construction and look of new structures. Okay. And when we say regulations, and I'm sure most people know this, that when you want to build a building, especially a skyscraper, there are hundreds of regulations that people have to follow. That's why people go to school to learn a lot of these regulations. Okay? Okay, there are hundreds of regulations and codes. They're also called building codes. Okay. All right. So that is the topic sentence and the explanation. Now, after the explanation comes the example. Okay. And the example should be something that's real world, easy to relate to, and take it from your own world, okay? So, and I'm not telling you to use your own experience. The question is telling you to use your own experience, okay? So if you look at IELTS Task 2 questions, IELTS Task 2 questions will often, almost always, include this statement. Give reasons for your answers and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. It's actually telling you, like, think about your own experience and include an example. That's how I know it's a first-person essay. So in my experience, or from my perspective, from my observations. Okay? All right? So think about what you have observed. Now, I live in British Columbia, in Victoria. So the two cities that I'm very familiar with, well, a few cities, but two of the cities are Victoria and Vancouver. Those are the two big cities in the province of British Columbia. So when I think about buildings in Victoria, when I think about buildings in Vancouver, and I think about what kinds of regulations guide these buildings, then I know exactly what I can write. Okay? So in Victoria, or in my city of Victoria, the government has put in place building codes such as no structure can exceed 30 stories. Because it is an earthquake danger zone. In addition, buildings must have a modern look that is acceptable by the multicultural population and does not offend any religion or race. Okay, so as you know, Canada is very multicultural, so you have building codes that say, okay, you can build a building that looks like a Muslim architecture or a Catholic architecture or a Buddhist architecture, Shinto architecture, Hindu architecture, but you must do it in such a way that it does not offend any other religion or race. So somebody doesn't say, hey, that's offensive to my people. Okay, so that's those are strict building codes in Victoria and Vancouver. If you go to Vancouver, you find much higher buildings. You find buildings that are 100 stories high, but not on Vancouver Island, partly because it's an earthquake zone, but also partly because we get very, very strong winds. We're on an island here in Victoria. We're on Vancouver Island. It's a big island, but we get some very strong wind. So in my city of Victoria, the government has put in place building codes such as no structure can exceed 30 stories because it is an earthquake danger zone. In addition, buildings must have a modern look that is acceptable by the multicultural population and does not offend any religion or race. Okay. All right. DZD Togo, welcome to our group of members. Nigeman, I just see that you switched over to the general, which is really cool. Okay. All right. Un's example, the Hanoi government has given permission for building designs that can withstand natural hazards such as earthquake, flooding, and can complement the beauty standard of the capital of Vietnam. Yeah, absolutely. And if you know some words like what are the architectural styles of Hanoi, then that would be great. So maybe many of the buildings in Hanoi are influenced by postmodern or neo-modern architecture. So using those words can help you bump up your score, Un. And it's cool that you're using the General English Help channel. Jasur writes, for instance, in my city, Samarkand, it is fixed that buildings should include no more than 20 stories and have tough foundations which are durable and stable against natural disasters. Yeah, Jasur, I'm guessing you're in India. And Vietnam, India, like Vancouver, are earthquake danger zones. Okay. If you live in Italy and Rome or in Paris, then you probably have to build so that you do not offend the historic look of buildings, especially in the downtown areas. Okay. All right, very good. So, concluding connecting sentence, these responsibilities towards the greater society clearly fall on the shoulders of authorities. Okay, so yeah, absolutely. Just making a couple corrections here. As I'm taking a second glance, always take a minute and then review the entire body paragraph, okay? Now again, high band essays, band 7, 8, 9, they're going to be longer than 250 words. They will be closer to 300, 320, 30 words for sure. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to review this, make sure that I don't have strange information, too much repetition. It is the elected government that is entrusted by its citizens to ensure that the buildings and cities guarantee security and safety. And I like the word, I think it was Rashika who used it, guarantee protection for the inhabitants. Yeah. As well as maintaining an overall aesthetic appeal and style that represents the population's culture and ideology, so their belief systems. Authorities must take into consideration dozens of potential threats, such as natural disasters that are frequent in the area, as well as the historical and religious beliefs of its citizens when setting up hundreds of regulations for the construction and look of new structures. In my city of Victoria, the government has put in place building codes such as no structure can exceed 30 stories. And let's put that in single quotations because that's the building code. Okay. Because it is an earthquake danger zone. In addition, buildings must have a modern look that is acceptable by the multicultural, not multiculture. We need the adjective form here. Multicultural population and does not offend any religion or race. These responsibilities towards the greater society clearly fall on the shoulders of authorities. Okay. All right. So I'm pretty happy with that body paragraph now. And so now I can go on to my second body paragraph, which follows the same structure as my first. Okay. DZD Togo, don't worry that there's not tons of people watching. It's totally okay. We just started the live streaming on our General English Help channel. Again, we had it a long time ago, but we reignited it. We restarted it. We do have 170 people or so watching on our Academic English Help channel. So we're multi-streaming because it works well for us now. So yeah, but if you're studying for General IELTS, you should check us out at General English Help YouTube. And if you're studying for the Academic IELTS, everyone, you should be looking at us at the Academic English Help channel. I've got both chats open, so I'm looking at both of those. Okay. All right. Here we go. So body paragraph 2. Okay, again, topic, explanation, example. All right, now, obviously the individual investor, they have an impact on the design of the building. In fact, they have a lot of impact on the design of the building, both the exterior and the interior, within the regulations set by the government, okay? So here we go. Tharusha, yeah, we do share our essays on the YouTube channel as well, okay? So here we go. Nevertheless, Okay, so that's what I mean when I say in the thesis statement that the investors influence the design because of cost, profit, and pride. So within the regulations set by the government, obviously the investor, the person making this skyscraper, this big building, has a great impact on the look of the inside and the outside of the building. And that's going to be based on their budget, so how much they can spend on the building. And also it's going to be guided by their imagination, what they really want the building to look like. I mean, just think about the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. What an incredible architecture. And I'm sure that many, many hours of people's imagination and dreams went into creating that building. Okay. All right. Paulo says, I think your baby is trying to engage in the class. Perhaps. Okay. The definition of input, DZD, is what you put into a situation. Okay. So in a computer, the input device is your mouse, your keyboard, your camera, because it takes information and it puts it into your computer. It's called your input device. Okay. Yen, you can give inaccurate examples, and I think by that you mean like not real examples, and it will not have a negative effect on your score. However, if you can use real examples, that's great, especially if you can use the same example, that's really great as well. Okay. So here we go. VG Pusela says both the government and the investors should work hand in hand in the erection of new buildings in the cities. Rules and standards imposed by the government should be meticulously followed by the financiers. VG, I think you're writing about a different idea here. So you're going a little bit off topic. Remember always the original question. Here the question is, who should be responsible for the look of buildings in big cities? The government or the investor, right? And you're saying both here, but in the second body paragraph, we're focusing on the investor more than just both. We've already talked about the government. Now we're talking about the investor. And in the conclusion, VG, is where we can restate that we want both, okay? All right. Okay, so here we go. The explanation, okay, is coming up next. Okay. So, what do we mean by that? Okay. All right, so what I mean by that is the amount of investment, so how much money we have, determines the height of the building. If I have $10 million and it costs $2 million per story of the building, I can build a 5-story building. I can't build a 100-story building because I just don't have enough money, right? So the amount of investment determines the height of the building, the materials used in the construction, and the ideology of the builders greatly affect the colors, materials, and the shape of the design, right? So it's kind of like the artist, okay? So if the builder tells the architect like, hey, I'm really into boats, then They might say, I want the building to kind of look like a giant ship. Okay. All right. And that's possible. And in fact, that's exactly what one of the newer buildings in Victoria looks like. It looks like a cruise ship. Okay. So why? Because a lot of people are big fans of boating and ships. We're on an island here, and there are cruise ships that come to Vancouver Island. So it's no surprise that one of the big actually two of the buildings in the downtown area of Victoria look like large cruise ships made out of glass, but they're not cruise ships, they're buildings, right? So again, I'm using that visualization, okay? Cruise ships. Cruise ships. 2 words. Unlike lifeboats, 1 word. Story buildings that look like glass cruise ships, as the investment group are also into boating and travel. All right. There we go. So to further merit this point, near my downtown home, there are 2 large 10-story buildings that look like glass cruise ships, as the investment group are also into boating and travel. Okay. So there we go, a little bit more and more explanation. You always want to complete your ideas and tie back into the original question. So to further merit this point, near my downtown home, there are 2 large 10-story buildings that look like glass cruise ships, as the investment group which funded the construction are also into boating and travel. All right. Okay, Bakrat writes, the financiers designed the building with the budget of the project because it establishes the building collapse in mid of construction. They will face major loss. Bakrat, some grammatical problems there, and you're also going off topic. So be careful with that. Yogesh, you do have essay checking services and feedback on the websites. Yeah, so go to gltshelp.com because you're in the General English Help channel, and click on the Task 1 or Task 2 green buttons on the website, and you can find those services. Okay. All right, now here, I don't write a connecting or concluding sentence because I have my conclusion coming up next. Okay? There's no point to write a connecting or concluding sentence right before the conclusion. That's just kind of awkward. Okay? Because after that, you're writing in conclusion and you conclude your ideas. Anyway, now notice something interesting that I did here. So in my first body paragraph, I used my city of Victoria. In my second body paragraph, I again used my city of Victoria, okay, near my downtown home. Let's add in Victoria, okay, to make it really clear for the reader that I'm using the same location. And that creates a lot of cohesion. So when you use the same context of the example for body 1 and body 2, you create a lot of cohesion, and that makes your essay better. Does everybody understand that? Thumbs up. So use the same example whenever possible, or use the same context for the example whenever possible in body 1, body 2. If you have 3 body paragraphs, then body 3, because that creates a lot of cohesion and makes a lot of clarity for your writer. Okay. A good question is asking, is this a general IELTS writing class? No, this is both. Okay, academic and general IELTS task 2 are basically the same. I've talked to so many IELTS experts, examiners. I've talked to British Council, and I have asked them, what's the difference between general IELTS and academic IELTS task 2? And everybody kind of looks at me and goes, nothing really. They're kind of the same. Okay, so they're pretty much the same, all right? Okay, so everybody pick up that important point that I just gave you there. Okay, that's a really good strategy. Okay, so keep this strategy in mind. Use the same context for your examples in all of your body paragraphs to create more cohesion and coherence in your essay, thereby getting a better band score. Okay, so in my case, I'm using Victoria. Okay, if you're using New Delhi in your first one, use New Delhi in your second one. If you're using Tashkent in your first one, use Tashkent in your second one. Okay. Navpreet is saying most teachers in India want to go with a format like this essay shall examine blah blah blah. It's wrong. No, Navpreet, that's not good, because the essay isn't examining anything. You are examining it, not the essay. The essay is a document, okay? And you don't tell people what your essay will do. You just do it, okay? In good communication, we don't tell people, I will talk about this. I will talk about that. I will write about this. I will. Nobody likes reading that. We just like reading the actual information. So if you take literature class, they will tell you, don't do that. Just tell them what you want to tell them. Don't tell them what you will tell them. Okay? All right. Okay, so Yogesh is writing, for instance, in India, especially in metropolitan areas, accountants firstly represent the budget of the buildings while constructing, and accordingly investors decide on the designs and shapes. Okay, Yogesh, not bad. It's a little bit repetitive. Try to think about more details, so more clear explanation. Okay. All right. Pardees, send me an email on that and I'll help you out. Okay, so now we have our conclusion. And the conclusion also has several parts. Okay. The conclusion is not just a repeat of your introduction. It has your points restated. It has your argument strengthened. And it has a take-home message. Okay, so take-home message is like, why does somebody want to read this essay? Why does somebody want to read your information? What do they get from it? Okay, in the real world, and of course this is good writing, we only read content that we find useful. If I were giving you information that's just kind of so-so and useless, you probably wouldn't be watching this YouTube channel. So I have to give you information that you can use, that you say, hey, that's good, that's useful, I can take that home, I can work with that, okay? All right, and Danielle, DKSS, is backing up that point right now. So Daniel is writing, hey, Adrian, I had an exam 3 days ago. I got 7.5 overall. I'm so grateful to you. It wouldn't be possible without you. Also, I got 8.5 in listening, which is insane. Daniel, that's fantastic. Congrats. Send me an email. I would love to get your testimonial. Okay. Satyam, accent does not matter in your speaking as long as the examiner can understand you. Okay, here we go with the conclusion. So points restated. In conclusion, both the government and the investor have their roles to play in the design of buildings in large urban areas. The authorities are responsible for the quality and fit of new constructions, while the sponsors decide the details of the finished product according to their interests. Okay. And here I want my own opinion and I want to include it. So in conclusion, both the government and the investor have their roles to play in the design of buildings in large urban areas. I strongly support that authorities are responsible for the quality and fit of new construction, while the sponsors decide the details of the finished product according to their interests. Why? This is my take-home message in this collaboration. The best results can be achieved for both the inhabitants, for both the occupants of the new building, as well as the citizens of the city. Okay, so that's what we're thinking about, because yeah, so the building, sure, is one part of the picture, but the other part of the picture is the big city, right? So the building is a part of that big city, and we have to consider not just the building, but we have to consider the city, and it's especially the government that's going to consider the city. So the government is more interested in the city than just the building, and of course the investor is mostly interested in the building, and so they have to work within the context of the city. Okay? All right. Here we go. Abhishek Kumar says, I got overall 8 band. That's great, Abhishek. Nicely done. Okay. So here we go. Let me read the full essay, and then hopefully it makes sense. When you're at home, you should always read your whole essay just to review it. So here again, the question is, some people believe governments should be responsible for the new design of buildings in cities. Others think investors should discuss both. Give your own opinion. Here's my response. There are thousands of potential designs for new buildings that pop up in cosmopolitan areas worldwide. Architects invest a great amount of effort and time in the functional and aesthetic design of skyscrapers and other structures to suit the needs of the city's citizens. The look of these buildings greatly impact the reputation and function of these urban areas. In my opinion, both the government and the investor should influence the design of the structures in metropolitan areas, as the former is responsible for safety and cityscape, and the latter is guided by cost, profit, and pride. It is the elected government that is entrusted by its citizens to ensure that buildings in cities guarantee protection for the inhabitants, as well as maintaining an overall aesthetic appeal and style that represents the population's culture and ideology. Authorities must take into consideration dozens of potential threats, such as natural disasters that are frequent in the area, as well as the historical and religious benefits of its citizens when setting up hundreds of regulations for the construction and look of new structures. In my city of Victoria, the government has put in place building codes such as no structure can exceed 30 stories because it is an earthquake danger zone. In addition, buildings must have a modern look that is acceptable by the multicultural population and does not offend any religion or race. These responsibilities towards the greater society clearly fall on the shoulders of the authorities. Nevertheless, within the construction framework set by the government, the financiers do have a significant input on the finished building, both on its exterior and interior design. The construction is guided by their imagination, budget, and business targets. The amount of investment determines the height of the building, the materials used in the construction, and the ideology of the builder greatly affects the colors, materials, and shapes of the design. To further merit this point, near my downtown home in Victoria, there are two large 10-story buildings that look like glass cruise ships, as the investment group which funded the construction are also into boating and travel. In conclusion, both the government and the investor have their roles to play in the design of buildings in large urban areas. I strongly support authorities are responsible for the quality and fit of new constructions, while the sponsors decide the details of the finished product according to their interests. In this collaboration, the best results can be achieved for both the occupants of the new building as well as the citizens of the city. Okay, good. I'm pretty confident. It's not perfect. There's still a couple mistakes that I saw while reading, but it looks good enough, especially for band 8 to 9. So I'm happy with that. It's about 310 words, 320 words. That's where you need to be for a band 8, band 9. Okay. All right. So that is the end of this essay. And that concludes this class. For lots more help with the academic IELTS as well as the general IELTS, please visit our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gltshelp.com for general IELTS. Okay, we have help for you there with essay writing. So have a lovely rest of your day. Tomorrow I'll be back with speaking part 2, the cue card, and speaking part 3. So we'll be doing speaking practice. Until then, I bid you farewell and have an awesome day. Much love to all of you. I'm Adrian, signing out from Victoria. Bye for now.